Hey friends, I'm Megan, so glad you're here. We've got a great episode today. Let's get started.
She had always viewed his job through a lens tinted with judgment and insecurity. A reflection not just of his work but of her own fears and frustrations. From the early days of their relationship, there was an undercurrent of disdain in the way she spoke about his profession. Subtle remarks that revealed more than she intended about her own expectations and the standards she held. His job, to her, seemed small, unremarkable, and beneath the ambitions she imagined for a partner. This attitude was not born out of malice but from a deep-seated desire for a life that mirrored her ideals of success and prestige. She wanted more for herself and, by extension, for the man she loved. Yet she struggled to reconcile this desire with genuine appreciation for who he was. The dynamic between them was complex, shaped by a blend of affection, frustration, and unspoken resentments. She admired his dedication and the long hours he put into his work. But she also found herself unable to silence the voice inside that questioned the value of his efforts. This internal conflict manifested in moments of criticism veiled as concern or constructive feedback. But the underlying message was clear. His job did not meet her expectations. She was caught in a paradox of wanting to support him while simultaneously diminishing his achievements. This ambivalence created a subtle but persistent tension, a quiet erosion of respect that neither fully acknowledged but both felt. His own feelings about his job were layered with pride and vulnerability. He worked hard, often beyond what was required, striving to build a career that could provide stability and fulfillment. Yet, the lack of validation from someone he cared about deeply weighed on him. He sensed her disappointment, even if it was not openly voiced, and this awareness chipped away at his confidence. The gulf between their perceptions of his work grew wider with time, fueled by unspoken judgments and missed opportunities for understanding. He longed for acceptance and encouragement, but the atmosphere of criticism left him feeling exposed and unappreciated. This emotional dissonance cast a shadow over their relationship, coloring interactions with subtle but corrosive doubt. Their conversations about his job often skirted around the real issues, focusing instead on practicalities and surface-level discussions. The deeper emotions, the hopes, fears, and insecurities tied to his career, remained unspoken, creating a silent divide. She grappled with her own feelings of dissatisfaction and unmet expectations, while he struggled with feelings of inadequacy and the pressure to prove himself. This lack of open communication fostered misunderstandings and resentment, as each interpreted the other's actions through the filter of their own unmet needs. The foundation of their partnership, which required mutual respect and support, began to show cracks under the strain. The social context of their lives also played a role in shaping her perceptions. The comparisons to friends, colleagues, and societal ideals of success heightened her awareness of what she perceived as shortcomings in his career. She found herself caught between admiration for his perseverance and frustration with the pace of his progress. These external pressures amplified her internal conflicts, making it difficult to separate her partner's worth from his professional status. This conflation of love and social ambition complicated their relationship, intertwining personal affection with societal expectations in ways that were difficult to navigate. Despite these challenges, moments of genuine connection and affection still existed between them. They shared laughter, dreams, and intimate moments that spoke to the love beneath the tensions. These instances offered glimpses of the potential for a deeper bond, one not defined by external measures of success but by mutual understanding and acceptance. Yet, these moments were often overshadowed by the persistent undercurrent of dissatisfaction, a reminder of the work needed to bridge their emotional divide. The contrast between their love and their struggles created a poignant tension, highlighting the complexity of human relationships. She also wrestled with her own identity and aspirations in relation to the relationship. Her judgments about his job were intertwined with her sense of self-worth and the vision she held for her future. The desire for a partner who reflected her ambitions was not merely superficial but connected to her hopes for security, respect, and belonging. This internal struggle added layers of complexity to her feelings. As she sought to reconcile love with practical realities, the dissonance between her expectations and their reality created a fertile ground for conflict, testing the resilience of their bond. Throughout this period, the emotional atmosphere was charged with unspoken tensions and delicate negotiations. Both she and her partner navigated a terrain marked by hope and disappointment, affection and criticism. Their relationship was a microcosm of larger societal dynamics around work, success, and value. The interplay between personal dreams and social pressures shaped their interactions and influenced their emotional responses. This complex web of factors set the stage for the unfolding story of ambition, pride, and the challenges of sustaining love amid conflicting expectations. In reflecting on these early dynamics, it becomes clear that the roots of the conflict lay not solely in the job itself but in the meanings ascribed to it and the emotional needs intertwined with those meanings. The job was a symbol, a stand-in for respect, validation, and security. The way it was perceived and discussed revealed deeper issues of identity, communication, and emotional connection. Understanding this context is essential to grasping the full scope of their relationship and the challenges they faced. It underscores the importance of empathy, dialogue, and mutual support in navigating the complexities of love and ambition. This foundation laid the groundwork for the tensions that would later escalate, shaping the trajectory of their relationship. The interplay of personal insecurities and societal expectations created a fragile balance, one that required care and attention to maintain. The early judgments and criticisms planted seeds of doubt and resentment that, left unaddressed, threatened to grow into deeper conflicts. Recognizing these dynamics offers insight into the human experience of love, ambition, and the struggle to reconcile the two. It is a reminder that relationships are not static but evolving landscapes shaped by the interplay of individual histories, desires, and external influences. Her attitudes toward his job were a mirror reflecting her own fears and aspirations. The complexity of these feelings reveals the challenge of loving someone fully while grappling with personal and societal pressures. It is within this tension that the story unfolds, a narrative of love tested by ambition, pride, and the quest for acceptance. The journey ahead would demand honesty, growth, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. This chapter sets the stage for a deeper exploration of how words and attitudes can shape the destiny of relationships. For better or worse, the escalating tension between them was like a slow-burning fire that consumed the foundation of their relationship. Her dismissive attitude toward his job, initially subtle and buried beneath veiled criticisms, became a persistent source of conflict that neither knew how to address fully. Each remark she made, intended or not, added to the growing emotional distance between them. He began to feel not only unappreciated but actively disrespected, as if the efforts he poured into his career were invisible or, worse, a subject of ridicule. This dynamic bred resentment, eroding the affection that had once been the bedrock of their connection. The relationship shifted from one of mutual support to a battlefield of hurt feelings and unmet expectations. She was caught in a cycle of frustration and disappointment, unable to reconcile her desires for a partner who embodied her ideals with the reality of his present circumstances. The societal pressures and comparisons that influenced her perceptions intensified this dissatisfaction. She saw other couples, other careers, and other successes, and measured their relationship against these external yardsticks. This constant comparison fostered feelings of inadequacy and disillusionment, clouding her ability to appreciate his unique qualities and the value of his work. Her criticisms, though often disguised as concern or humor, reflected deeper insecurities about their future together. The tension between what was and what she hoped for created a fertile ground for conflict. For him, the experience was deeply painful and confusing. He wrestled with feelings of inadequacy and a yearning for validation from someone whose opinion mattered most. The dismissive comments about his job struck at the heart of his self-worth, undermining his confidence and fueling doubts about his place in the relationship. He felt caught between his pride in his accomplishments and the sting of rejection from his partner. This emotional turmoil manifested in withdrawal and defensiveness, further distancing him from her. The lack of open communication about these feelings allowed misunderstandings to fester, creating a widening chasm that neither seemed equipped to bridge. Their interactions became increasingly fraught with tension, as small disagreements over his work escalated into larger arguments about respect, support, and love. The emotional undercurrents were palpable, with each exchange carrying the weight of accumulated disappointments. She found herself criticizing not only his job but his ambitions and choices, questioning his priorities and dedication. He, in turn, perceived these critiques as attacks on his character and worth. The mutual hurt created a feedback loop, where pain begot pain, and attempts to connect were met with defensiveness or silence. The intimacy they once shared was replaced by guarded conversations and emotional distance. This period also highlighted the challenge of navigating differing values and expectations within a relationship. Her emphasis on career status and social perception clashed with his desire for recognition of his efforts and the dignity he found in his work. The gap between these perspectives made empathy and understanding difficult, as each held tightly to their own truths. The inability to align on these fundamental issues eroded trust and goodwill, making reconciliation increasingly elusive. The relationship became a reflection of the broader societal tensions around work, identity, and respect. Despite the mounting difficulties, moments of hope and connection still emerged sporadically. They shared glimpses of the bond that had initially drawn them together. Laughter, shared goals, and mutual care. These moments, though fleeting, reminded them both of what was at stake and what had once been possible. However, the frequency and intensity of conflicts overshadowed these instances, casting a long shadow over their future. The balance between love and discord tipped precariously, signaling the need for change that neither was yet ready to initiate. Her internal struggle was as complex as the external conflicts. She wrestled with guilt over the harshness of her criticisms and the impact they had on him. Yet, she also felt trapped by her own expectations and disappointments, unsure how to express her needs without causing further harm. This ambivalence created a cycle of self-reproach and defensiveness, complicating her emotional landscape. The societal narratives about success and worth influenced her perceptions deeply, making it difficult to disentangle personal feelings from cultural conditioning. This struggle was emblematic of the broader human challenge of balancing love and expectations. In this climate of growing tension, the relationship became a test of resilience and communication. The failure to address underlying issues openly and empathetically allowed resentment to take root. Both partners became prisoners of their unspoken fears and unmet needs, trapped in patterns that perpetuated misunderstanding. The emotional exhaustion from repeated conflicts drained their capacity for patience and forgiveness. The relationship, once a source of joy and support, risked becoming a battleground of competing insecurities and unmet desires. The consequences of this escalating conflict were far-reaching, affecting not only their emotional well-being but also their vision for the future. Plans for shared goals and dreams became clouded by uncertainty and doubt. The emotional toll weighed heavily, casting a pall over daily interactions and diminishing their sense of connection. The challenges they faced were not unique but part of the complex terrain of intimate relationships, where love must contend with individual histories, expectations, and societal pressures. Navigating this terrain required courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. As this chapter unfolded, it became clear that the path forward would demand significant change, either in how they related to each other or in the future they envisioned together. The escalating tension was a signal that the status quo was untenable, that without intervention, the relationship would continue to deteriorate. This realization set the stage for the critical turning points that would follow. As both were forced to confront the realities of their situation, the challenges of this period illuminated the fragility of love in the face of pride, judgment, and unmet expectations, underscoring the need for empathy and honest communication as the foundation for healing and growth. The story of their escalating tension is a testament to the complexity of human relationships and the interplay of personal and societal influences. It highlights the ways in which unresolved insecurities and unmet needs can erode even the strongest bonds. Yet, it also holds the possibility of transformation, should they find the courage to face their challenges together. This chapter is a crucial part of their shared journey, a prelude to the changes that will redefine their connection and their lives. The turning point in their relationship came unexpectedly with his promotion, a development that reshaped not only his professional status but also the dynamics between them. This advancement was the culmination of years of dedication and hard work, a testament to his resilience and ambition. The promotion brought with it a newfound confidence and sense of achievement that radiated through his demeanor and interactions. He carried himself differently now, proud of the recognition he had earned and eager to embrace the opportunities ahead. This transformation was palpable, signaling a shift not only in his career but in his identity and self-perception. As he stepped into this new phase, the relationship began to reflect these changes. The confidence that had once been quietly held now blossomed into assertiveness and independence. He became more aware of his value and less willing to tolerate the criticisms and dismissiveness that had previously undermined his spirit. The promotion was more than a professional milestone. It was a turning point in how he viewed himself and what he expected from those closest to him. This shift created a growing distance between him and his partner, as the foundations of their relationship, built on uneven expectations and unspoken resentments, began to crack more visibly. The dynamic between them changed subtly but significantly. His partner, who had often belittled his job and ambitions, now faced a man who was unapologetically proud of his achievements. This new confidence challenged the status quo of their relationship, unsettling the balance that had existed. The power dynamics shifted, as he no longer accepted diminished respect or passive disparagement. His success brought a new lens through which he evaluated his relationship and his place within it. The emotional distance that had been simmering beneath the surface now became more apparent, as the gulf between their visions for the future widened. Her reaction to his promotion was complex and conflicted. While part of her felt pride in his accomplishments, another part grappled with feelings of insecurity and loss of control. The changes in his demeanor and status stirred anxieties about her own position in his life and the relationship. She found herself struggling to reconcile the image of the man she had known with the person he was becoming. This internal conflict manifested in a mix of admiration and resentment, hope and fear. The promotion, while a cause for celebration, also illuminated the fractures in their connection and the challenges that lay ahead. The colleague who would later become a pivotal figure in their story entered the picture during this transformative period. She was someone who seemed to embody qualities that his partner had overlooked or undervalued. A blend of beauty, confidence, and ambition that complemented his newfound status. The presence of this colleague introduced new dynamics into the workplace and, by extension, into his personal life. Their interactions, professional at first, gradually took on a different hue as mutual respect and attraction grew. This development was subtle but significant, laying the groundwork for the eventual shift in his affections and commitments. As his relationship with this colleague deepened, the emotional distance between him and his partner grew more pronounced. The intimacy and connection they once shared were overshadowed by unspoken tensions and unmet needs. He found himself drawn to the colleague in ways that fulfilled aspects of his identity and aspirations that had been stifled or ignored. This growing bond was both a symptom and a cause of the widening rift, reflecting the evolving priorities and desires of both individuals. The shift was not abrupt but a gradual reconfiguration of loyalties and emotional investments. During this time, communication between the couple became increasingly strained. The conversations that once flowed with ease now felt forced and superficial, masking deeper issues that remained unaddressed. Attempts to bridge the gap were met with defensiveness and misunderstanding, as both struggled to articulate their feelings and fears. The lack of open dialogue allowed resentment and dissatisfaction to fester, eroding the possibility of reconciliation. The emotional labor required to sustain the relationship became overwhelming, and the foundation they stood on felt increasingly unstable. The promotion also amplified existing insecurities and conflicts within the relationship. The disparity between her expectations and his reality became more apparent, highlighting the misalignment of their goals and values. This gap underscored the challenges of maintaining a partnership amid changing circumstances and evolving personal identities. The pressures of professional success and personal growth tested the limits of their connection, revealing vulnerabilities and limitations that had previously been concealed. The relationship faced a critical juncture, where choices about commitment and compatibility needed to be confronted. Throughout this period, the emotional landscape was marked by a blend of hope and despair. Moments of pride and optimism were interspersed with feelings of loss and alienation. The interplay of success and struggle created a complex narrative of love challenged by ambition and changing identities. Both partners were navigating a terrain fraught with uncertainty, where the past and future collided in ways that demanded adaptation and courage. The unfolding story was one of transformation, not only in professional terms but in the intimate realms of trust, respect, and emotional connection. As the promotion reshaped his life, it set in motion a series of events that would culminate in profound change. The evolving dynamics illuminated the fragility of their bond and the necessity for honesty and alignment in relationships. This chapter marked a turning point where personal growth intersected with relational challenges, highlighting the tensions between individual aspirations and shared commitments. The story of his promotion and its impact offers insight into the complexities of love and ambition, and the ways in which success can both inspire and divide. The narrative of this transformation is a reminder that relationships are living entities, subject to the ebb and flow of change. It underscores the importance of communication, empathy, and mutual support in weathering transitions. The experiences of this time laid bare the vulnerabilities and strengths of both individuals, setting the stage for the choices and consequences that would follow. It is a chapter rich with lessons about the interplay of personal achievement and relational health, and the delicate balance required to sustain both. Ultimately, the changes brought by his promotion were a catalyst for reflection and decision. They forced both partners to confront the realities of their relationship and their individual paths. The new dynamics challenged old patterns and opened the possibility for growth, but also for separation. This period was a crucible in which their future would be forged, shaped by the interplay of ambition, love, and the evolving understanding of what they truly wanted and needed. The moment she discovered he had left her for his beautiful colleague was a shattering blow that reverberated through every corner of her world. It was not just the betrayal itself, but the way it crystallized years of tension, misunderstanding, and unspoken disappointments into a stark and painful reality. The realization that he had chosen someone else, someone who seemed to embody everything she had criticized or feared losing, felt like a final verdict on her worth and the relationship they had built. This betrayal cut deeply, unraveling the threads of trust and intimacy that had once held them together. The shock was overwhelming, leaving her reeling in a sea of emotions that ranged from disbelief to profound sorrow. The emotional impact was immediate and visceral. She was engulfed by feelings of humiliation, anger, and grief, each wave crashing harder than the last. The knowledge that her harsh words about his job and, by extension, his identity, had played a role in this outcome intensified her pain. She grappled with the bitter irony that her criticisms, which stemmed from insecurity and disappointment, may have pushed him towards someone who appreciated him differently. This realization sparked a complex blend of self-recrimination and regret, as she faced the consequences of her actions and their contribution to the relationship's demise. The betrayal was not only about loss but about the painful recognition of her own role in the unraveling. In the days following the discovery, her sense of self was deeply shaken. The foundation of her identity, which had been intertwined with the relationship, crumbled under the weight of rejection and abandonment. She wrestled with feelings of inadequacy and the haunting question of what she lacked compared to the colleague who had supplanted her. This internal struggle was compounded by the public nature of the betrayal, as the workplace gossip and social circles amplified her humiliation. She felt exposed and vulnerable, as if her private pain was now a spectacle for others to witness. This social dimension of betrayal intensified her isolation, making the process of healing all the more daunting. The betrayal also forced her to confront the complexities of love, loyalty, and ambition. She recognized that his departure was not merely a rejection of her but also a pursuit of his own aspirations and desires. The colleague represented a new chapter in his life, one that aligned with his evolving identity and professional success. This understanding, while difficult to accept, offered a broader perspective on the nature of relationships and change. It highlighted the tension between individual growth and shared commitment, and the ways in which ambitions can both unite and divide. Her grief was intertwined with this awareness, adding layers of complexity to her emotional experience. Her relationship with the colleague, though painful to acknowledge, became a symbol of the distance that had grown between her and her partner. This new woman seemed to embody qualities she had dismissed or undervalued, a stark contrast to the dynamic that had defined her relationship. The comparison was unavoidable and tortuous, fueling feelings of jealousy and inadequacy. She struggled to reconcile the reality of his new attachment with the memories of their time together. This process was marked by moments of despair and reflection, as she grappled with the loss of not only the man but the version of him she had once known and loved. The social repercussions extended beyond the immediate circle, affecting mutual friends, colleagues, and family. The betrayal disrupted social networks, forcing others to take sides or distance themselves. She experienced the loneliness of being on the outside, watching as life moved forward without her. This social alienation deepened her sense of loss, underscoring the multifaceted nature of betrayal. It was not only an emotional wound but also a fracture in the fabric of her community and support system. Navigating this new social reality required resilience and adaptability, as she sought to rebuild her connections and regain her footing. Throughout this period, she engaged in a tumultuous internal dialogue, oscillating between anger, sadness, and self-reflection. The intensity of her emotions was exhausting, yet it was also a necessary part of the healing process. She confronted the rawness of her pain and the difficult truths about her relationship and herself. This confrontation was a crucible for growth, forcing her to examine her own patterns, needs, and desires. The betrayal became a catalyst for a deeper understanding of love and loss, and the complexities of human connection. It was a painful but essential step toward reclaiming her agency and rebuilding her life. Despite the devastation, she began to find glimmers of hope and strength. The pain of betrayal, while overwhelming, was also a call to transformation. She recognized that healing would require time, patience, and a commitment to self-care and growth. This period marked the beginning of a journey from victimhood to empowerment. As she slowly reclaimed her narrative and envisioned a future beyond the shadow of betrayal, the road ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, but it also held the promise of renewal and resilience. In embracing the full spectrum of her emotions, she laid the groundwork for recovery. The betrayal was a profound rupture, but it was not the end of her story. It was a chapter marked by loss but also by the potential for rebirth. Her journey through this dark valley would shape her into a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person. The experience taught her about the fragility and resilience of love, the costs of pride and judgment, and the enduring human capacity to heal and grow. This chapter, though painful, was a necessary passage toward a new beginning. The emotional aftermath of the betrayal plunged her into a deep and complex process of reflection and self-examination. The initial shock and pain gradually gave way to a more nuanced understanding of her feelings, actions, and the dynamics that had shaped the relationship. She grappled with intense waves of sorrow, anger, regret, and confusion, each emotion compelling her to look inward and confront truths she had previously avoided. This chapter of her life became a crucible for growth, forcing her to reckon not only with the loss of a partner but with her own role in the unraveling of their bond. The journey toward healing required honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to face difficult realities. She began by examining the root causes of her criticisms and the impact they had on her partner. The disparaging remarks about his job, initially framed as concern or jest, were revealed to be expressions of deeper insecurities and unmet expectations. She acknowledged how these words, while sometimes said in frustration, had chipped away at his confidence and sense of worth. This recognition was painful but necessary, as it highlighted the power of language and attitude in shaping relational dynamics. Understanding the consequences of her behavior was a vital step toward taking responsibility and fostering genuine remorse. Her reflections extended to the underlying fears and desires that had driven her judgments. She confronted the reality that her aspirations for a certain lifestyle and social status had influenced how she perceived her partner's work and value. These external pressures and personal ambitions had created a lens through which she filtered their relationship, sometimes obscuring the genuine affection and potential that existed. She wrestled with the tension between wanting to support her partner and projecting her own dissatisfaction onto him. This insight deepened her empathy for both herself and him, illuminating the complexities of human emotion and connection. Throughout this process, She also grappled with the pain of betrayal. Not only his departure but the way it intertwined with her own failings. The juxtaposition of her hurt with the realization of her contribution to the relationship's decline created a complex emotional landscape. She experienced a paradox of victimhood and accountability, struggling to balance self-compassion with the need for growth. This dual awareness was a critical component of her healing, fostering maturity and emotional intelligence. It allowed her to move beyond blame and toward constructive self-improvement. Her journey of self-reflection was accompanied by efforts to seek closure. She explored ways to communicate her feelings and apologies, striving to make amends where possible. Whether through letters, conversations, or personal rituals, she sought to express her regret and desire for reconciliation, even if only for her own peace of mind. These actions were part of a broader commitment to integrity and healing. Acknowledging that closure often requires proactive steps and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. The pursuit of closure was both an external and internal endeavor, aimed at restoring harmony within herself and, if possible, with others. In parallel, she worked to rebuild her self-esteem, which had been deeply shaken by the breakup and betrayal. The experience had left scars that affected her sense of identity and worth. She engaged in practices that nurtured self-love and confidence, such as therapy, mindfulness, and creative expression. These activities helped her process emotions and cultivate resilience. She learned to embrace her imperfections and recognize her inherent value independent of others' perceptions. This internal work was foundational to her recovery, empowering her to face the future with hope and strength. Her reflections also led to a reevaluation of her values and relationship patterns. She gained clarity about the qualities she desired in a partner and the boundaries necessary to maintain healthy connections. This insight was transformative, guiding her toward relationships characterized by mutual respect, support, and authenticity. She recognized the importance of communication, empathy, and shared aspirations as pillars of lasting love. This newfound wisdom shaped her approach to future relationships, helping her avoid repeating past mistakes and fostering deeper, more fulfilling connections. The process of self-reflection and seeking closure was not linear. She experienced setbacks, moments of doubt, and emotional turmoil. The path to healing was marked by fluctuations between progress and regression, hope and despair. However, each challenge offered opportunities for learning and growth. She cultivated patience and compassion for herself, understanding that healing is a gradual process that requires time and kindness. This attitude allowed her to navigate the complexities of recovery with grace and determination. As she continued this journey, she developed a more nuanced perspective on love and human imperfection. She came to accept that relationships are inherently complex and that mistakes, misunderstandings, and failures are part of the human experience. This acceptance freed her from unrealistic expectations and the burden of perfectionism. It opened her heart to forgiveness, not only of others but of herself, and to the possibility of renewed trust and connection in the future. Ultimately, this chapter of self-reflection and seeking closure was a turning point, a moment when pain was transformed into insight, and loss became a catalyst for growth. She emerged from this period with a deeper understanding of herself, a renewed sense of purpose, and the emotional tools necessary to build healthier, more authentic relationships. The experience, while painful, became a foundation for resilience and hope, marking the beginning of a new chapter in her life defined by wisdom, compassion, and strength. The process of moving on and rebuilding her life after the painful breakup and betrayal was a slow and often challenging journey, marked by moments of doubt and breakthroughs, despair and hope. It was not a linear path but a winding road that demanded resilience, self-compassion, and a willingness to embrace change. As she stepped into this new chapter, she gradually redefined herself beyond the shadow of her past relationship, reclaiming her sense of identity, purpose, and hope for the future. This transformation was both internal and external, encompassing emotional healing, personal growth, and the reconstruction of her social and emotional world. At the heart of this journey was the commitment to self-love and self-care. She recognized that healing required nurturing her body, mind, and spirit with kindness and patience. She cultivated routines and practices that supported her well-being, whether through physical activity, creative expression, mindfulness, or simply allowing herself time to rest and reflect. These acts of care were not indulgences but essential foundations for rebuilding her strength and confidence. They enabled her to face each day with greater resilience and a growing sense of empowerment. By prioritizing herself, she reclaimed agency over her life and emotions, setting the stage for renewed growth. Rebuilding her social world was another vital aspect of her transformation. The loss of her relationship and the accompanying social fallout had left her isolated and vulnerable. She actively sought to reconnect with friends and family, repair damaged relationships, and forge new connections that reflected her evolving self. This process involved vulnerability and courage, as she reached out despite fears of rejection or misunderstanding. The relationships she cultivated were characterized by mutual respect, empathy, and support, providing a nurturing environment for her continued healing. These social bonds became a source of strength and joy, reminding her that she was not alone and that connection was possible even after profound loss. Her professional and personal pursuits also flourished as she engaged with passions and goals that reignited her sense of purpose. Whether through career development, hobbies, or community involvement, she embraced activities that brought fulfillment and challenged her to grow. These pursuits reinforced her identity beyond the realm of romantic relationships, affirming her autonomy and potential. The successes and milestones she achieved, no matter how small, became symbols of her resilience and capability. They fueled her confidence and optimism, reinforcing the belief that she could create a meaningful and satisfying life on her own terms. In her approach to future relationships, she carried the lessons learned from her past experiences with clarity and intention. She developed a deeper understanding of the qualities she sought in a partner and the importance of boundaries, communication, and mutual respect. This wisdom guided her to engage in connections that nurtured her well-being and honored her growth. She embraced vulnerability as a strength, allowing herself to connect authentically while maintaining a sense of self-protection. This balanced approach fostered healthier and more fulfilling relationships, breaking patterns of insecurity and misunderstanding that had previously undermined her happiness. Throughout this transformative chapter, she cultivated patience and compassion, not only toward others but toward herself. She acknowledged that healing is a process marked by setbacks and progress, and she allowed herself the grace to experience the full range of emotions without judgment. This self-compassion was a powerful tool, enabling her to navigate challenges with resilience and maintain hope in difficult moments. It nurtured a positive relationship with herself, fostering inner peace and confidence that radiated outward into her interactions and aspirations. Her evolving perspective on love and life deepened as she integrated her experiences into a coherent narrative of growth and renewal. She came to appreciate the complexity of human relationships, the inevitability of imperfection, and the importance of forgiveness. This understanding liberated her from unrealistic expectations and the weight of past regrets, opening her heart to new possibilities. She embraced the future with openness and courage, ready to engage fully with life's opportunities and challenges. The pain of the past remained a part of her story, but it no longer defined her destiny. Ultimately, the journey of moving on was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the capacity for transformation. She emerged from this period not as a victim of circumstance but as an empowered individual, shaped by experience but not limited by it. Her story became one of hope, resilience, and the enduring potential for love and happiness. As she stepped forward into the next chapter of her life, she did so with a heart open to new connections, a mind grounded in wisdom, and a spirit ready to embrace all that lay ahead. This chapter was not just an ending but a vibrant beginning, an invitation to live fully, authentically, and joyfully.
Thanks for watching. It means a lot. Share the video, and I'll see you soon.